Well, good evening, and you're just in time for TV47 weekend. 24 days into the month of October. Trust you're doing well. My name is Grace Josephine, and Anwar Rimo is our sign language interpreter this evening. First things first, a look at our top stories tonight. Tonight, UK government promises to help in the investigation into the murder of Kenyan woman Agnes Wanjiku by a British soldier before dumping her body in a septic tank in Nanyuki. Also tonight, 8 people have been arrested over violence in DP Ruto's Busia rally yesterday.
And I have asked the security team there to look for everyone who was involved in that organization, even if they are political leaders.
Plus, DP Ruto intensifies his campaigns in Kiambu County.
Ati sisi tumekosa agenda, tumekosa plan, tumekosa mpango, mpaka sisi twende tukodeshe mtu ya kitendawili ati akuje akuwe kiongozi ya nani.
As other presidential candidates, Jimmy Wanjigi and Musalia Mudavadi, who voters in Kajiado and Embu counties respectively. Weekend without curfew. Night business is back after the dusk zone curfew was lifted, but the national government says there are so many licenses issued to bars by county governments. Welcome once again to this live broadcast. Now we kick off the bulletin on a political note, and Deputy President William Ruto has condemned ODM leader Raila Odinga for promising a 6,000 shilling stipend to every unemployed youth instead of creating opportunities for them. Ruto and his allies spoke during a church service in Gashie, Kiambu County, before making several stopovers. During his allies took a jibe at Suna East lawmaker Junet Mohammed over his remarks on what to expect of a Raila Odinga presidency. Musa Salah has more.
Sunday's church service at Latter Glory in Kiambu County. Deputy President William Ruto and his allies joined other congregants in praise and worship. And once they took over the podium, politics took center stage, with Ruto's allies putting Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed on the spot over his comments that should former Prime Minister Raila Odinga bag the presidency, power will be centered in his Nyanza backyard.
Huyu mtu ambaye anaitwa Junet Mohammed, venye aliongea hakuongea vibaya. Aliweza kutuonyesha siri ya Raila Odinga. Juu tumekuwa tukishindwa Raila Odinga ametupangia nini?
Na wale wote ambao mnaongea mabaya ya Junet, tafadhali kama rafiki yake nimesema ikome. Because Junet is the only honest person in that fraternity, hiyo ingine iko ile side.
Sasa Junet akisema hiyo iko makosa gani? Ni mzuri aseme, kwa sababu kuna matajiri wachache hawaelewi.
Raila Odinga asiwadanganye kwamba anapanda mlima. Hiyo ni biashara ngumu sana. Kama kupanda kwa jukwaa paka akuwe supported, mlima ataupanda aje?
Saa hizi wamekundiwa kwamba kuna mlima, ya kwamba ramani ya mlima hii itabidi sasa mjipange, kwa sababu haichukui wiki moja ama mbili ama miezi. Hii mlima inataka miaka.
The leaders further condemned politically instigated violence in recent rallies in Githurai and Runyenjes, warning that it could spill over to the 2022 general election. The deputy president, however, criticized the ODM boss for disrupting Jubilee's Big Four agenda during his several stopovers in his tour of Kiambu County, ruling out the possibility of joining hands with Odinga.
Your Excellency, if you come to Kiamba and there are people who don't want to listen to you, the honorable thing to do is to move on. But you cannot export violence by bringing goons and thugs to come and beat up people in Runyenjes because they have failed to listen to you.
And whatever provocation you may bring to hustlers, our only fight in this country is the fight for a better economy.
Ati sisi tumekosa agenda, tumekosa plan, tumekosa mpango, mpaka sisi twende tukodeshe mtu ya kitendawili ati akuje akuwe kiongozi ya nani. Bwana, hapana, hiyo ni matusi.
Ruto's hustler narrative dominated the rallies, with his allies expressing their confidence that the bottom-up economic model will transform the lives of Kenyans.
Because when you told these people 2 years ago that the conversation in this country will change, nobody believed it. Lakini sasa simeona kila mtu anajaribu model yake ya uchumi, hata wenye hawana idea uchumi ni nini, wanakuja kuleta mambo ya handout economy na jobless.
Tunataka serikali ya Kenya mzima. Hatutaki serikali ya kunyima watu wengine kazi. Tumekubaliana ni kubadilisha katiba ama ni kubadilisha uchumi? Ni katiba ama ni uchumi? Hebu niona wala wanasema tubadilishe uchumi. Kabisa. Si ndio? Mimi nataka niwaulize. Sisi tutafanya guesswork ama tutafanya ile tuko sure?
Suna East Member of Parliament Gotv Mohammed remarks on what ODM leader Raila Odinga's presidency could look like if elected president next year has elicited mixed reactions among Deputy President William Ruto's allies as the second in command continues to make inroads in President Uhuru Kenyatta's Mount Kenya backyard. Musa Salah, TV 47, Kiambu County.
Well, thank you, Musa Salah, for that report. Still on the political arena, presidential hopeful Jimmy Wanjigi now says that ODM boss Raila Odinga has destroyed democracy in the party. Meanwhile, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has called on Kenyans to elect leaders who will revive the economy, as Paul Kirobi now reports.
Just a day after Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho dropped his presidential bid in favor of ODM leader Raila Odinga, ODM member and presidential hopeful Jimmy Wanjigi has attacked Odinga, accusing him of frustrating democracy in the party.
Wao sasa ndio wanasema wanaunga hata party leader wangu mkono. Hiyo haiwezekani. ODM si project ya mtu. Hatuwezi kubali hiyo. ODM ni project ya wananchi wa Kenya. Na uongozi wa ODM ni wananchi wa Kenya.
Popularization of the ODM party and the party leader in the Mount Kenya region. I think it is in the public domain that the mountain has shifted and our leader is going up the mountain one step at a time.
Wanjigi spoke after meeting ODM delegates drawn from Manyata, Runyenjes and Mbeere North, claiming that the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga has a hand in troubles in the party.
Let me tell you, Junet Mohammed, we demand your resignation because people like us work day and night to sell the agenda of the Orange Democratic Movement.
Chama ya ODM ni yetu zote. We need an apology from Junet Mohammed asikunje kutachufuria chama.
Meanwhile, Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho has continued to castigate UDA's presidential hopeful William Ruto over his bottom-up economic model.
Yani mtu aja watie hisia kali ati mumwache baba sahihi ambaye tuenda kutoboa. Na mimi nataka baba atoboe. Unajua kwa sababu gani? Nataka baba atoboe 2022 ili 2027 aniwachie. Yule mwingine akienda hatuioni tena.
Elsewhere, ANC party boss Musalia Mudavadi took his vote hunting mission to Rongai, Kajiado County after attending a church service at Family Harvest Church. Mudavadi urged Kenyans to make wise decision come 2022 by voting in leaders who will care for the economy of the country and ensure a better Kenya.
Ili uamuzi ule ukifanyika, uwe uamuzi ambao utakuwa wa maana na manufaa kwa taifa letu la Kenya. Tuchague viongozi ili usiku kufika mwananchi atalala kwa nyumba yake bila wasiwasi.
Wale ambao walikuwa wanapigia Raila Odinga kelele pia washindwe. Tuko na taifa ambayo inahitaji umoja. Mtu yoyote ambaye anatafuta kura asikizwe. Kama unampenda umsikize. Kama umpendi uachane na yeye. Si ndio hiyo? Hii Kenya ni ya kila mtu.
Paul Kirobi, TV 47, Nairobi.
At least 8 people have been arrested in connection with the chaos that erupted during the Deputy President William Ruto's tour in Busia County on Saturday. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i said more arrests were expected, as Andrin Kilemi now reports.
The government has yet again reiterated that it will challenge the High Court ruling that declared Huduma number unconstitutional. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i says that the government was ready to even move to the Supreme Court to defend the move. The High Court ordered that the government conduct a data protection impact assessment before rolling out the Huduma cards, as required by the Data Protection Act. Meanwhile, police in Busia have arrested 8 suspects linked to Saturday's chaos that erupted after a section of residents barricaded roads to block Deputy President William Ruto's motorcade. Ruto had toured the western region to popularize his 2022 presidential bid.
Vijana muko, my friends.
Mheshimiwa Ruto akitaka kuja kuomba kura akuje. Raila akitaka kuja kuomba kura akuje. Gideon Moi akitaka kuomba kura akuje.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, speaking on Sunday, said more people would be arrested in connection with the incident, warning that leaders who may have been involved in planning and executing the chaos will not be spared.
And I have asked the security team there to look for everyone who was involved in that organization, even if they are political leaders, whether they're elected members of parliament or not, I don't care. Arrest them, we take them to court. No one is allowed to disrupt meetings, and we cannot allow those types of things to happen.
Matiang'i warning Kenyans, especially the youth, against disrupting political meetings, further observing that the security sector had adopted a zero-tolerance approach to those who threaten national security.
We know what that has done to our country before when we had those kinds of jokes. We started like that in 2007, and you know where we ended. Safari hii, we will not wait and procrastinate. We will act with speed and family.
On its part, the Ministry of Information and Technology has urged players in broadcasting sectors, and especially the community-based channels, to be more vigilant and to avoid using those platforms to steer tribal politics.
Mambo ya hiyo frequency, I'm sure the Director General sasa amesikia. Na mmesikia kazi yake ni regulation ya communications, broadcasting, internet.
If you break the law, we will shut you down without batting an eyelid. Because you see, if it's in the best interest of the country, we will do it.
The Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has assured Kenyans of a peaceful campaign and election period. Those arrested in connection with yesterday's chaos are being held at the Busia police station before they are arraigned in court. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
Now moving on, the Archbishop of the Anglican Church of Kenya, Jackson Ole Sapit, has reiterated the directive of barring politicians from making any political utterances in Anglican churches countrywide. The Archbishop has warned politicians against bribing innocent Kenyans. Ole Sapit has further urged Kenyans to give every politician a chance to sell their manifesto.
Wanasiasa wanapopeleka kuuza sera zao, wasilete matusi, wasilete magawanyiko, wasikuje kudunisha moja kwa mwingine, kwa sababu hapo ndio unaenda kuongeza hasira kwa wale wanaounga yule mwingine mkono. Si ni kweli? Kwa hivyo enda usa sera yako bila ya kutaja jina ya mwingine wala kwenda ukashifu. Wacha huyo naye apate nafasi ya kuuza yake, na wananchi wa Kenya wapate nafasi ya kuchagua wakati watakapopata hiyo nafasi ya kuchagua.
And away from that, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Interior, Karanja Kibisho, has accused county governments of prioritizing revenue at the expense of public health by issuing too many bar and liquor licenses. Now, this comes at a time when clubs and bars are abuzz with activities after the president lifted the COVID-19 curfew imposed last year.
Business in bars and clubs is booming a few days after President Uhuru Kenyatta lifted the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew. Revelers have been flocking the entertainment joints as they marked the first weekend since the dusk to dawn curfew was lifted during the Mashujaa Day celebrations. However, the Ministry of Interior has accused county governments of prioritizing revenue at the expense of public health by issuing too many bar and liquor licenses.
Mambo ya pombe, ile certificate ya pombe inapeanwa na county. Na
tumeona, na si kaunti ya Kirinyaga peke yake, ni kaunti zote nchi hii mzima, wameanza kuweka revenue mbele ya afya ya watu. Kwa hivyo unapata wamepeana certificate license nyingi kwa bars, na sisi sasa tunakuwa mikono yetu imefungwa juu kama bar imefunguliwa na wako na license ya kutoka kwa county, sisi hatuna uwezo wa kucancel hiyo license. Yetu ni kuhakikisha wanatii ile sheria nyingine ya lika ile ya nakada.
But owners of entertainment joints say they will ensure the COVID-19 measures are followed to the latter.
Biashara inaendelea kama kawaida. Mambo na kazi wameondoa. Tunatembea free. Na binadamu pia sisi tujichunge.
Tunashukuru Uhuru Kenyatta kufungua kazi. Sahi tunasukuma maisha yetu vizuri. Tusomeshe watoto wetu wasome. Mabibi zetu wamehangaika, watoto wetu wamehangaika. Tunashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu amesikia maombi yetu. Leo Uhuru Kenyatta ametufungulia nchi.
Since the dusk to dawn curfew was enforced in March last year, a number of businesses were negatively affected. The curfew was put in place as a measure to curb the spread of COVID-19. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
15 minutes past the hour, and that report brings us to our first break. Don't go too far away. Coming up, weekend without curfew. Night business is back after the dusk to dawn curfew was lifted, but the national government says there are so many licenses issued to bars by county governments.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording, but anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC Nighting with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister? Give me your sister. I show you how these things are done.
So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV 47, the Men's Conference brings you a cocktail of top-notch advice to breed alpha males for alpha females in the society.
Tunaweza tumeite
Well, thank you for staying with us. As the race for numbers gears on ahead of the 2022 general election, it is almost certain that the presidential election will be much contested. pitting Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga as the two top most likely candidates. But the admission by senior government officials that there is a controversial group of powerful individuals, informally called the Deep State, exists and has immense influence on presidential elections cast a shadow on Kenya's elections. This even as presidential hopefuls meet with billionaires believed to be holding the system at ransom, all in the hopes of sponsoring their presidential bid. In this week's 2022 game plan, Musa Salah takes a look at how deep the state is.
In its 58 years of independence, Kenya's presidential elections have not been without controversy, and the latest revelation pointing out an influential hand in the process has cast a shadow on Kenya's democratic process.
In most cases, fair and free elections has been from the MC or the then councillor up to, we used to have the last used to be a member of parliament, but nowadays up to governor and senator. But from there are a lot of determinant factors that allows one to be a president.
What is deep state? Is it something amorphous? It is only that there are people who have influence.
But I would imagine that in every establishment or in every other regime, there must be those people close enough to the powers that be that probably make decisions.
If Uhuru says that he is preferring Odinga, then that is the deepest, because we will have all the machineries that will assist that person to make sure that he wins the rest. That is how deep the deep state is.
Those political financiers, campaign finance are the deep state. That's what is called deep state. They have a stake in the leadership through the lucrative tenders. They'll even decide it. They are very influential. They are very influential because they are the chief advisors of most of those candidates.
Unless you can win the political power, the ideas remain ideas. They will never be implemented. So the question of your capacity to win or your inability also becomes very important.
They have calculations. They know before even us, the voters, know who will become the president. They know. And after that, they will seek an early appointment, have a meeting with the person. After that, they put their gears or they put their whatever they want into gears. They start moving now, and you will not be able to defeat such a person.
President Uhuru Kenyatta's preference of ODM leader Raila Odinga over his deputy William Ruto as the preferred successor has stirred confusion among the political class. President Uhuru Kenyatta abandoning his promise to support Ruto for 2 terms as president. But there remains a consensus that it is normal for a retiring president to have a preferred candidate. In the 2002 general election, then President Daniel Moi had picked young Uhuru Kenyatta for the presidency. Kenyatta, under the stewardship of Moi, only managed 31% of the vote, raising questions over the power of the deep state then. But as it turns out, the deep state is a group of powerful and well-connected individuals, including billionaire business moguls, whose main interest has been termed by some as to protect their wealth and in the process cash in on the gamble on who the next president should be.
Because you see, Kenya's politics is commercialized. If you are not funded, you cannot make any mark. And in presidential election, it's not only one political financier. You must have financiers and goodwill support from the influencers.
But that's a reality. If they back you up, you are more likely to get the resources to win that campaign. You are more likely to get support to reach the people, to reach the masses.
See, the issue of persons that contribute to campaigns and how much they influence the campaigns is debatable in many ways, because there are people who give to campaigns simply because they feel it is the best way to participate in shaping the future of a nation. At the same time, there are business people who give in campaigns because they feel that they would want a stable environment to conduct their businesses.
Most presidential elections are not cheap. You talked the other day when the IBC talked of 7 to 8 billion.
It's not easy to get one person. That's why people run to political finance. But this political finance come and hold the successful candidates at ransom. That's how we say we are fighting corruption. How do you fight corruption? When somebody has given you 2-3 billion, of course, after you've won the office, he'll want his money back through the big tenders, through connections, through appointments.
Most of the things are run by cartels. You also all saw what the DP was saying about petroleum, about cartels in different industries, whether it is health sector, maybe energy sector. All sectors, sometimes they are controlled by those who are even not in the government, but they do tenders, they do business with the government. They are tycoons who controls majorly the economy of this country.
Ukifanya biashara na serikali una faida kubwa. Kwa hivyo ukiona mtu anakusaidia kuna kitu ametega. So hawa mataiguns wote ambao mnasikia wamejitokeza kusaidia wanasiasa, kupatiana chopa, kupatiana gari yake, kuna kitu ambaye anataka.
But inside sources indicate that the cabal, on whose hands the fate of millions of Kenyans lie every 5 years, is not exclusive to domestic influence. The deep state in Kenya traces its roots to the Cold War, with political foundations such as the Rockefeller Foundation believed to be advancing American interest in the country. In the following years, pundits argue that foreign influence in Kenya's politics grew as the country established itself as a regional hub.
We had also the German funding their own people inside here. We had the British funding their own people inside Kenya here. So that after somebody has been elected, then the person can further the interests of that particular country, be it commercial interest, political interest, social interest, and other interests, and bring either through technical aid and bring that linkage closer.
In the last 1 month, presidential hopefuls met with the Mount Kenya Foundation, whose exclusive membership comprises of globally recognized industry leaders, to negotiate their way into State House next year. The One Kenya Alliance core principals met with the tycoons at Safari Park Hotel just days after Odinga had lunch with the foundation. Although Deputy President William Ruto has castigated his opponents for abandoning the power of the ballot, pundits argue his dismissal of the elite in his campaigns could cost him dearly in the race to State House next year.
We have also our own Kenyans, the entrepreneurs, like the Mount Kenya Foundation, something foundation. Those ones also, they must know who can steer and put some mechanism in place to grow economy or to spur economic growth. They cannot just support somebody through slogans, and workable theory, economic theories. They can't support you.
If it is a bad thing, if it is a monster, they are the ones who fed the monster, isn't it? Because he was part of it. Yeah, they are the ones who organized for him and the former brother, who is now an adversary, you know. And so now, you know, the foot is on another foot, shoe is on another foot. And now that's why he's complaining. So he understands, actually, the impact of these people.
Empowering Mkokoteni and other people, that's fine. You know, but when you carry these people in the wheelbarrow, when you carry your stuff in a wheelbarrow, well, you won't be taking it. You'll be taking it to a construction site, isn't it? Who owns that building? You know, where you're taking it. Is it not the Mama Mboga? The one who owns the building will be somebody else's money. And maybe after you finish that building, you'll be building another one. Yeah, so I think for the country to progress, you have to look both at the top and the bottom as well.
2017, we all put our posters and we all said we are going to be Jeshi la Uhuru. But what happened to majority of us? When we went to parliament, we became anti-Uhuru. So why would you now want to tell us that you are with Ruto and you're going to fight for Ruto there in parliament? It is every man for himself and God for us all. God will give us a good president. I don't know who, but he's going to give us one president. It doesn't matter who has been seen to be ahead, but the president who cares about our affairs. The president who will also take care of the future, because we have projects. Look at this road we are building here. We have Mau Mau roads. By 2022, some of these projects will not have ended.
look at what happened when Moi was in power. Everybody thought that Moi had a magic, that there is no way opposition can win. Opposition won. At the same time, you have seen complaints the last 2 elections, whereby people, the opposition have been crying that there is manipulation by deep state. And therefore, I would say that if you are properly prepared, then we should not be having issues of deep state.
The same dynamic could happen, especially when the incumbent is exiting. Usually deep state might not have 100% say or even 70% say.
Ruto, who has been on a charm offensive to change the national conversation on the state of the economy, is said to be largely banking on the youth, millions of whom have been adversely affected by unemployment.
The voter is that small person who is down there, not foundations. So there's likelihood that there'll be, when it comes to voting, there'll be a big disparity between the haves and have-nots, the rich and the poor.
I mean, they are not in those big hotels. These are university students. These are young men and women in the villages, in the rural areas. I mean, how will a few people in a hotel make a decision for those millions of Kenyans out there?
I heard from international community and even the president himself confessing that there is corruption in this country. And corruption in this country is not only at the highest office, it is everywhere.
So they cannot support a government or a presidential candidate who is supporting poverty, who is talking about people coming up with economic theories that are unworkable, that have not been tested elsewhere in the world, and say we want to be a president. They won't support you.
I think any candidate that will resonate on the side of the economy will be able to win the confidence of Kenyans, and we could see for the first time a presidential election candidate being elected going by policies and not by tribe or even coalitions.
In August this year, members of parliament unanimously nullified the proposed elections campaign financing regulations by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC, seeking to cap the campaign financing. In its proposal, the IEBC capped campaign financing for presidential candidates at 4.4 billion shillings, governors, senators and women representatives at 433 million shillings, while members of parliament were allowed a maximum of 33.4 million shillings.
How much money they're giving, then we may end up not having the right leaders for this country.
Ile limits IBC ilikuwa najaribu kuweka, hamna tena. Mwenye nguvu nipishe. Na unajua Wakenya tunapenda kitu kidogo. Hii sasa nafikiri hapo ndio bado pale ile shida tu bado tuko nayo. Ya kwamba mwenye pesa nyingi, hela nyingi hako na chances mingi ya kuchaguliwa kwa sababu ya ile uchumi ambaye imeumiza Wakenya.
In Kenya it is known that or rather it is automatic that corruption is deeply rooted in all levels of life.
You can't talk of corruption if you are supporting corruption. You can't talk of eliminating corruption if you are geared towards voting for a corrupt person. Even for not only top seats, but even your MCA. So Kenyans, it is the highest time they carry out due diligence to those that they want to put in positions of authority and influence. It's not just elections, it's not just money. And you know, they say, oh, has given you money, that is the right person to vote for. You are voting for money, you are not voting for a leader.
The problem we are having in Kenya is that leaders will spend a lot of money. When they get to the positions, they work very hard to refund their money. In the process, the citizens will not benefit.
And even as tycoons from the Mount Kenya region negotiate with presidential hopefuls, the region is for the first time unable to produce a strong candidate to battle it out with the rest, creating a vacuum in the mountain with the majority still undecided on who to support for president.
Politically, we are in a very interesting political times. And we are going into a transition government. And as a region, we don't have, I would say, a lead with a presidential candidate. And so at this point, we are negotiating.
The people in Mount Kenya have reached a point whereby they would also want to see a head of state coming from another place, so that we can break this myth that when you have one of your kingsmen in government, there are obvious, natural, probably free benefits that you drain from government, which is not true.
And that's why everybody's running to the mountain. Mount Kenya could play a key role in deciding who could the next president be by what you call the swing vote. Wherever they'll agree to whichever candidate they'll agree to support. in maybe 80%, 90%, that could be the swing vote.
It is true, we are swing vote. We are no longer kingmakers. The way we are moving, you can see already, if you look at by the analysis yesterday, you can see that Samuel Ruto is now at 57%, Raila Odinga 11% in 8 counties, and that tells you that there is a huge number that has not yet decided on where they are going to vote.
And I can tell you for sure that we are not going to have a rerun. People are enthusiastic to elect a president. It is going just to be once and for all. Because you see what other politicians did, which has aroused Kenyans and which was good. They started campaigning immediately after last elections. Now Kenyans know if you have been elected and you don't serve, you start now campaigning for the top seat. What is there that you want? So this is going to make a lot of people turn out in large numbers, and then they will be able to vote whoever they want.
Musa Salah, TV 47.
Well, I believe you have a better definition of the deep state. And now in that report by Musa Salah brings us to our second breather. See you on the other side.
TV 47, the home of untold stories. Emotional.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording, but anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC 19 with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Undertaking husband duties on a boyfriend tender.
Guys, with bromance, do you share your woman with the bro?
Have a sister? Give me your sister. I show you how these things are done.
So you go release and be like,
Men supporting each other, not only financially, but also socially.
Don't mingle with women you can't deal with.
Is there really a formula for dating and marriage?
Some men are procreational, some men are recreational.
Every Wednesday on TV 47, the Men's Conference brings you a cocktail of top-notch advice to breed alpha males for alpha females in the society.
Tunaweza tumeite nje tutesiwe do. Mimi naitwa Ben, mimi ndo rafiki ya babako.
Tumeleta dozi zako usimize mtoto.
And now we have to deal with a drug addict.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Young professionals drawn from various prominent political parties in the country under an umbrella body dubbed the Strugglers Movement are appealing to Kenyans to maintain peace and unity amid these polarizing political times. The Strugglers Movement is urging Kenyans to see through political rhetoric, saying the movement is not associated with any political party at the moment and that they will only support a party that has Kenyans' interest at heart.
Hatuwezi kulinganisha Strugglers Movement na wale wenzetu ambao wanaadaa na kudanganya Wakenya kwamba wao wako watu wa chini, ilhali wao ni watu wa juu, na tumejua. Hatuwezi kulinganisha strugglers movement na wale wenzetu ambao wanaleta fujo, jinsi mlivyoona jana wameleta fujo. Sisi tunakuja kwa amani, na amani yetu ni hivi: amani ya kuleta maendeleo, amani ya kumaliza kustruggle.
We are not interested in political parties. This is a movement for young people. And the R you're seeing, we are not supporting anyone. The R means real.
And away from that, the British government has vowed to leave no stone unturned until justice is served to the family of Kenyan lady Agnes Wanjiru, who was allegedly killed by a British soldier in Nanyuki on March 31st, 2012. In a statement on Sunday, Jane Marriott, the British High Commissioner in Nairobi, affirmed that senior military officials from the UK will be in Kenya in the coming weeks for a collaborated investigation into Wanjiru's murder. A 2019 inquest in Kenya concluded that Wanjiru was murdered by British soldiers, but no arrests were made. The British government now says it is fully cooperating with an investigation into the murder of a Kenyan woman, Agnes Wanjiru, whose body was found in a septic tank in Nanyuki. British High Commissioner to Kenya says the UK will support the inquiry into the tragic death of Agnes Wanjiru in 2012. In a statement, the UK government says it shares the outrage and concern about the tragic death of Agnes Wanjiru. The UK's Special Investigation Branch carried out initial inquiries in Kenya, including providing information about British personnel to Kenyan police. No further requests were received at that time. The statement adds that following the conclusion of a Kenyan inquest in 2019, the UK understands that the Kenyan authorities are looking into the murder and will support the Kenyan police investigation. It adds that the conduct of the UK military here is incredibly important to the British government. Senior military visitors from the UK come to Kenya regularly, including in the coming weeks, and will be discussing Miss Wanjiru's murder and UK support to the Kenyan investigation, says the UK Embassy in Kenya. The UK Minister for the Armed Forces will be visiting Kenya next month and promised to follow up on the issue. British soldier identity has been established after he allegedly stabbed a Kenyan mother to death before dumping her body in a septic tank in 2012 and is widely known in the army. Agnes Wanjiru, 21, was murdered and put into the septic tank on March 31st, 2012, while her family searched for her. By the time her body was found, all the British Army Training Unit Kenya soldiers who had been at the hotel had returned to the UK. According to the Sunday Times, 5 soldiers from the unit gave the same name belonging to Soldier X.
I've seen it and my mind just went blank, and the only words I can think of were, "I'll never forgive you for this."
What did you say?
Just remember her. She was in the tank when I seen her. He took me to the tank and lifted it up, and I looked in, and I just remember seeing her in there.
After a night of partying in 2012, the body of Wanjiru, who left behind a 5-month-old daughter, was found at the Lions Court Inn Hotel in Nanyuki by a worker who noticed a foul smell. In their investigations done by the Sunday Times, soldiers who took part in the drunken night with local